All right, Reefers, in last week's video, we got the chance to check out Nick's insanely cool lagoon-style soft coral dominated tank. Now, that's not the only tank he has in his house. He actually has 3 more. We're gonna talk about all of them in today's episode, but this is going to be the main star of the show, is this big SPS dominated tank. Nick, thanks again. Appreciate you for having me, and let's get into it right away. How big is this tank? And let's talk about the dimensions.
This is a 310-gallon tank. It's 8 foot long, 30 inches front to back, and 25 inches tall, with probably a 70-gallon sump underneath. It's my pride and joy, but I've kind of little neglected it, as I told you before, because I'm going bigger, believe it or not.
Crazy.
It's here. It's ready to go. As soon as I get back from vacation, it's going to be set up.
Okay, so that'll be the next tank. And so how much bigger is the new tank that's going to be setting up?
500 gallons.
Wow. That is a
200 gallons
miniature
more.
Swimming pool in your living room.
I can lay in it and I still have tons of room.
I think you kind of have a theme going on too. You like the longer systems, right? You're not so much into the height as you are like kind of the length.
I want the length for the fish. The tangs, obviously I have a bunch of tangs in here. They need all the room they can get. So that's another reason I wanted to go bigger. I love fish. When people ask me fish or coral, I say both because I love both. Fish are awesome. Corals are awesome. I want it all. I
think you really nailed it for the fish selection in this tank. I want to talk about all the different fish you have in here, and you've got a couple fish that we've seen a lot of tank tours, and there's a couple fish in here that I've never seen in a system. I mean, I've seen them before. Right. I have not seen them in a very, very long time. Let's talk about your tang gang that you got going on in this system.
Well, here's one right here that you don't see too often. This is a chevron tang, adult one. You don't see those too often. We were talking about that earlier. I have that one. That's probably a bigger one. This is the biggest in here, the blonde naso tang. I have a Caribbean doctor tang, a regular naso, a blonde, it's called a blonde naso, 2 yellow tangs, koi parrot, the sailfin, powder brown, the huge fox face, and of course the blue spot trigger, the blue throat trigger. Anthias. There's a little bit of everything. There's tons of wrasslers in here too. There's a little bit of everything.
This tank, it seems like, comparative to the tank we talked about last week, it has a lot of the workers in it. You had the orange shoulder in the other system, right? But it seems like this mainly is going to have a lot of your working fish. Yeah. Obviously, the tangs that you have, the wrasses that you have. Was that kind of the purpose of the selection of fish? Was it kind of to get a good working crew in the tank, or were these just fish you wanted to have?
Yes and no. I mean, they do obviously, you can see there's no algae in here. They do work, but that wasn't really my prerogative at first. I just love fish. If I like a fish and I can put it in the tank, it's going in the tank. That's why I look at stuff with fish.
How long have you had the copper band?
The copper band, he's about 4 months old now.
Okay,
4 months as him being here.
It's a pretty good run for copper bands. I think those are... Brightwell Aquatics talked about it in a previous video on their social media, but copper bands in general, very difficult fish to get going well, doing good. Yes. I do want to ask, have you seen him look at the clam at all? Because
I have not.
I know that can be kind of an issue. I see him right now. He's kind of working his way around, digging around, looking for worms and other things. I know sometimes people say you can't keep clams with copper band. They've been in the tank the same amount of time.
Yeah, actually the clam's been here longer, and I have not noticed any issues at all. He does his job with all aptasia. I haven't found one aptasia. So he does eat frozen as well, so that's a good thing.
The koi parrot, this is one of my favorite fish in the hobby. I think people give parrotfish a bad rap, and they think that they're not good for reef tanks, they're not safe for reef tanks. This is a prime example of keeping
a
parrotfish that's good for, reef safe. Like you said, the koi parrot is the right way to go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of your corals now. This is more of an SPS dominated tank. I see we've got a mixture of things, but let's talk about those.
Yes, it was supposed to be an SPS dominant tank. It's had some hiccups. I hate to say neglected it because I've been busy and then I have another tank, but it's going to be back to where it was before. I have a little bit of, obviously, I have a torch garden over here, a hammer garden over there, a little bit of a lot of LPS, a lot of SPS, LPS, chalices. So that's what I'm going for in this tank.
A nice mixture.
I like a little mixture of everything.
Right, because obviously the lagoon tank is more hyper-focused on the flowy corals, the soft corals.
The easy stuff.
You still have a little bit more of some flow in here with your Euphilia gardens, but this is more honed in on the other types of corals. Do you think that with this new tank in mind, this new project, that's why some of the neglect has kind of occurred.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a little bit part of the
Definitely.
reason of that?
Unfortunately, as much as I'd say yes, it's definitely been that. I know it's going to be breaking down, and I know something's going to happen, so I kind of neglecting it, and I kind of stay on top of it when I can. So I'll leave it how it is for now.
I'll say it's neglected is funny, right? He says that with a loaded term because, I mean, looking at the tank, it's beautiful. The tank looks great. I don't think it looks neglected. The fish look super happy. You said earlier on with this tank, there was an issue with a certain coral that you ended up trying to fight back.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
I had tons of the red discosoma mushrooms in here, and this whole side was full of them. So I got tired of having them in there. So I'm like, it's time. I'm going to rescape this tank. So I started with this side. I rescaped it with new Carib sea rocks. Got everything out of there. And of course, I thought I got all the mushrooms out there, but of course, as we showed you, there's still some hiding right there. So those will go when the tank gets broken down again.
Kind of curious, when you were making that swap, right, you were changing out the rock, did you do one section at a time and allow kind of the biodiversity to travel over to the other scape?
Yes, I did. I left some of the stuff in here and I did half. And then a couple weeks later, I did the other half. So there's still a lot of biological filtration in there. I have some stuff in the sump that help feed it as well. So
I want to hear about the equipment now. That's kind of something I love to talk about. In both tanks too, I wanted to make mention, I think one of my biggest pet peeves in reef keeping is when you see a ton of equipment in a tank. If it's got, you know, a ton of, you know, wires and things inside the system, you've done a really good job of maintaining minimal equipment, minimal wires inside the display itself, right? Like kind of keeping all of that non-aesthetically pleasing things outside the tank. Let's talk about what you got. You got a ton of flow, a ton of light. Let's talk about it.
I have 2 MP40s on each end and 2 gyres on each end, and it's substantially enough. I haven't had any issues with the flow. I have 6 XR30 G3 Pros, I'm sorry, G4 Pros, excuse me. 4 4-foot Orphic bars, the blue spectrum, and that's it for the inside for the flow.
And then how long is the light running during the day? What's your schedule?
They run, was it 13 hours? They ramp up from 9 and shut off at 10 o'clock at night.
Gotcha. So you like kind of, you know, some people have talked about this in some previous videos where you like running it a little bit later into the day. So when you come home from work, you're able to enjoy it.
Yeah. At nighttime, obviously, what you said, Gucci mode, that's the best time to see this tank. It really pops about 8 o'clock. You really see it.
For sure, all the fluorescents really start going.
Yes.
We talked about your fish. Let's talk about the cleanup crew. One thing that really kind of caught my eye was that blue Linkia star. I feel like you never see those in much tanks that do real well. How long have you had that?
I've had him for, I think, a year or two almost now. Yeah, a lot of people say that they have issues with him. I haven't had any issues with him. He's done really well for me.
Did you add him in later on when had the system already developed over some time?
Yeah, this tank's been running for 8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so it's definitely
it's seen its time.
It's definitely seen some time.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone through a lot of changes.
I think that's key for those starfish because they love biofilm. I think they need to have a huge amount of biofilm to really kind of work on.
Yep.
I see a bunch of, you know, kind of same situation as the other tank. A lot of snails, blue legs, all the different
A lot of blue legs, a lot of snails. That's pretty much it for in here, the snails and blue legs, and then the Linkia. And I have some hiding cleaner shrimp in here as well. Other than that, that's about it for the cleanup crew. I'm sorry, there is probably 3 or 4 sea cucumbers in here.
The cleaner ass, I've seen him working non-stop. So you have multiple cleaning stations in the tank, right? You've got the cleaner shrimp, and then you also have the cleaner ass.
Yes.
Now, I think that kind of doubles in on something we talked about too, was your UV sterilization.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why you use UV sterilizers. Why do you think they're so important?
I feel like if you have a lot of fish, it's good for health-wise. It combats the ick at the first stages, so there's nothing like that. It also helps with the algae as well. So I utilize that for both tanks and for that reason right there.
So you're kind of double dipping, right? You have like the natural side of things utilizing the cleaner shrimp, the blue streak, and then you're also using UV sterilizer.
Yes.
Underneath, we've got the sump. What's inside the sump?
We have a massive protein skimmer. I have a calcium reactor, algae scrubber, and a caulk stirrer. And with a manifold that runs everything. I have 2 separate pumps. I have a Vectra that runs the main display, and then I have a separate pump that runs just for the manifold and the equipment underneath. Yes.
And then when it comes to feeding the fish and dosing in this tank, what are we feeding and dosing?
I feed when I feel like it. I have an auto feeder here for pellets that does twice a day. I feed frozen food that I make every night. And then like I said, also if I feel like, hey, you want some food, I'll throw some food in there for them. But I make my own food.
Okay, we talked about it in the last video that you used frozen food, but you didn't let us in on the secret of what kind of food's going into the frozen food. Let's talk a little bit about your recipe.
Yeah, I make my own food. I use a little bit of seafood medley. I use fish that I catch that's, I'll say, a little old. Shrimp, scallops, oysters, squid, a little bit of everything, coral food. Whatever I feel like throwing in there that's going to be good for them, I put it in there. Gotcha.
And do you make it, blend it up, and then make like some cubes out of it?
I blend it all up, stir it all up together, and then I make like flat packs with the quart Ziploc bags. I flatten them out, have flat packs.
Ah, okay, nice, very cool.
So I break pieces off. And
do you see that benefits your fish, kind of like more creating your own food? And I guess you can also fine tune it to specific things.
I put in there what I know they're going to like, and I haven't had one fish not like it.
Interesting. That goes to show. I mean, and you've got some fish that might be a little bit picky, right?
Yeah.
I do see the trigger fish is hanging out in here.
Oh.
Have you decided you wanted to get a pair for the trigger, or just the one?
I do want the female because that's the male. I've been kind of leery because I don't know how he's going to react, but I do eventually want to get one. I love triggers. My girlfriend loves triggers. So that's actually on the lagoon that we're going to put one in there too.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, I love them.
Talked about feeding your fish. I do want to ask, you've got some corals in here that are a little bit more dependent on feeding. So we've got the acanthos down here on the sand bed. You got some meat corals. Are you specifically feeding those corals at all, or are you just letting them get whatever?
I let them get whatever. Every once in a while I'll drop something in there, but most of the time, no, I'm letting them feed off the water column.
How long have you had them in the tank?
This one I've had last wrap.
Wow. Okay. So
this one, over a little year and a half ago.
This is a great, showcase of people. A lot of people say like these meat corals and these acanthophills, you have to feed them. You got to give them food. No. I think this is a great example. I think they'll obviously take to food. They'll probably, of course, take a nice healthy meal.
Sure.
But I think it's cool to see that you're keeping them super happy and not having to do that extra feeding. I feel like too, with the sheer amount of fish in here, it would almost be kind of tough to feed this, those corals. I think that becomes an issue. I know that's an issue with my tanks at home, is that whenever I try to feed specific corals, like my mushrooms, they try to just nab all the food up. And then too, same with your cleaner shrimp. I did want to point out, you've got some really cool clownfish, and it looks like they've got some babies in the back too.
They do. They have babies back there. If they're gone within a couple of days, they're back again.
Crazy. So it's just on rotation. They're constantly making new babies and going through.
Yep. And there's babies back there right now, and they use that elegance as an enemy. So that's their enemy, that big elegance back there. So they love it.
Very cool. That is probably one of my favorite things in the hobby is clownfish, even though they're usually jerks and they're not super nice fish. Yep. Something about them is my favorite. When you get to see a pair actually breeding is really cool.
It's amazing how many there are.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you said that one of the nights you guys were all hanging out here and it was a late night and you saw a bunch of the babies swimming out around?
Yeah, and we had all the lights were off and you seen little eyes, you take a flashlight and there was thousands of them swimming through here. You could see them. They didn't last long.
Right, they end up turning into fish and coral food, right?
Right, exactly.
It's almost like giving back to the reef, right? The full cycle.
Yeah, it's definitely cool to see though.
You mentioned your pH. Now let's talk about some of the numbers for this tank.
Okay.
What are the numbers we're shooting for? What's the goal for this system?
This tank, I try to keep the alk around 8.3. It's usually pretty good around there. The calcium is 450. Magnesium is at 1450. Phosphates, believe it or not, are astronomically high in this tank. They've always been high. My nitrates are around 20, but for having high phosphates, I can't combat it. I've tried and tried and tried, but I just leave it.
Just if you put GFO, it just immediately gets absorbed. No chance.
Yeah, it's insane how high it is.
Well, I really like all the different tanks you have in here. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other systems we've got in here. I know we've got a nano over here on our left. Camera doesn't really catch all the tanks you got in the house, but you are the embodiment of someone that loves the hobby, right? We've got multiple tanks in here.
Yeah.
The plan for the nano tank and then the other tank we have over there. What are we
the
going
nano
for?
tank is just I'm trying to keep just strictly mushrooms in here.
Okay.
I'm getting there. The bigger the K, the 90 over here. I'm trying to straight zoas in that tank. I'm getting there. I have a couple more things to get rid of, and then it'll be only zoas in there. So that's my goal with those two tanks.
Kind of species specific.
I'm trying to do species specific with these two, and then I want to be able to have a little bit of everything throughout the house.
Right. I It's cool to see the Cade up and running.
I love that tank.
I haven't seen many Cade systems up and rolling, you know, them being kind of over in the Australian
Right.
side of the world. You don't get to see many of them.
Me
but
personally, for Cade, I'd rather have a Cade than a Red Sea in my
Oh,
opinion.
okay. So if you were to choose an all-in-one
Yeah.
tank, you would go with the Cades?
I definitely would.
Interesting.
I love that tank.
You know, looking at this tank now, we've talked about all of your systems. You've got a slew of different things going on.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get a new system up and rolling at some point here soon, and
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting to see that develop. You gave us a tip in the last video talking about time, right?
Yes.
If you had another tip, what would it be?
Get what you like. Don't go for names and all that other stuff. Just get what you like. You'll be so much happier. That's like me, because I love fish. I like them all. Like I said, if I can put it in there and I like it, it's going in there.
I talked about that in my video. You know, I think my tip ended up being, you know, reef your way. Because I
Right.
think as the reef hobby develops, as the phases come through, mushrooms were super hot, chalices were super
Yeah.
hot, torch corals are super hot.
Yeah.
I think right now gonnies are super hot.
Right.
And, you know, people tend to kind of go with the masses.
Yes.
You'll never really love your tank and give it the appreciation if you don't pick the things that you like. So I think you're hitting it right on the nail, though. You know,
Yeah.
reef your way, pick the things you like.
Go what makes you happy. Obviously, too, it can be easier to do what you want to do versus follow what everybody else is doing.
Right, for sure. Well, Nick, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for letting us come crash in your house and check
love
out
it.
all your systems, man. You've got a blue thumb, as my mom would like to say. It's
Yeah.
called a blue thumb, growing corals, keeping these fish happy. And you've got what we all say we have, an addiction to the hobby.
Very
and that's
so.
not a bad thing. There's
Nope.
way worse things to be addicted to, but it's
Very much.
saltwater fish keeping, so it's not too bad. Well, if you guys have hung out with me all the way through, I want to hear down in the comments below your favorite part about Nick's other systems. We talked about one before in the last week's video, but now we're talking about the other ones. Again, thank you, Nick. If you guys have hung out all the way through, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future uploads.